The next thing to do then is to resolve errors and warnings. But how do we resolve errors first? Let's have a look at errors first. How do we resolve errors? There are a couple of options, ones that I've just touched on briefly. So if I click on this group here, for example, you can see here we've got a different selection here. So we can find and replace a node within an invoice, for example. We can disable the VAT rate check. We can disable duplicate document numbers. We can duplicate supplier invoice number as well. There are various checks that we can do here that we can disable here to allow transactions to go in. And these selections allow you to perform corrections in bulk. The other alternative we have is to actually click on the details and then just simply click view and resolve. And even when you get to here where you have access to the details, you could always select all or just select the item here, and then you still have the same selection that you had in the menu a moment ago. So from here, you can just go into the invoice, and you can see here you've got supplier information here at the top, so customers and supplier, document details, a document in terms of the invoice references, etc., the currencies, and then you also have the figures as well as the remaining items on the invoice line, such as the VAT code, for instance. And you can see here, you can click on any of those nodes and make the change as appropriate. So it's straightforward, you make the change, and once you've made the change, typically you'll have save and reprocess, which will appear at the bottom here, and then you reprocess. So this is how you resolve errors. So now let's go ahead and look at these errors one at a time. So let's look at the first one. The first one says that a customer has no VAT number in the country of the chosen VAT number. So let's have a look. Essentially just means a VAT number is missing, and that's our customer. So the first things to do here before actually solving anything is always having a look at the original invoice. It's important because we have our information here. We can look at the customer information and from there retrieve the missing information, and then it's just a quick update. If of course it's not, the information is missing from the original invoice, then we may need to contact the business partner to get that information and then update it accordingly. So in this instance, all it's saying is the VAT number is not correct. So in terms of the sources that we talked about, this looks like it could be either a data extraction issue, so the VAT numbers for the customers not being pulled up, or it just could be that it's just a data entry or data integrity error where the information was just omitted while being keyed in. So here we have a clue for the customer name. It says that your customer SPL within the EU. We can see here SPL within the EU is usually France, and you can see here there's a VAT number country which says France here, and further below here we have the country of the VAT number used by the customer is also French. So we have enough clues here to say that this is a French customer, in which case we will update the country with FR. We will then update the VAT number as well with FR, and then let's just put our French VAT number here. And we scroll all the way to the bottom, save and reprocess. We just click the invoice to be reprocessed. Once loaded, just wait a couple of seconds. Make sure all the filters are still correct. Hit apply. And then we can see we had 7, it's now moved down to 6. The next error is the applied VAT amount in the data doesn't match the VAT rate of the VAT code. What this error is saying is, you've said the VAT rate is 21%. VAT reporting takes the taxable basis. It applies this 21% to the taxable basis. And whatever result it gets, it compares it against the VAT amount which is provided in the data. So even if you have a difference of 0.01, VAT reporting is going to highlight it. So we have a couple of ways we could resolve this, depending on the value of the difference. So here the first is 60 minus 60. So we can go ahead and have a look at it. So essentially the VAT rate check that you would know about. So again, this time we're looking at numbers. So we're not looking at the master data part. We're not looking at the document details. We're looking at the totals. And once we come to the totals here, we can see that the taxable basis is 4,000 and 21% of 4,840. And there, that's the reason we're having minus 60 as a difference. So all we need to do is just click on the node, update it with the correct information, and then scroll down and then save and reprocess. Of course, before doing that, we'll have checked the original invoice to make sure that that's the correct process here. If it was another error, for example, the VAT code was not the correct one, then we would have updated as well. But in this case, we're going for training purposes, we're going with the fact that the taxable basis is the correct amount and the VAT amount is not correct. So let's save and reprocess. All right, so the next item to look at, there's a difference of 0.05. So let's have a look at the details very quickly. Again, we come to our totals on the documents and we can see here that the taxable basis is 2,000 and then we're expecting to have 420 and we have a difference of 0.05. So as we've just resolved the previous one, we can just click here and resolve it, or we have two other alternatives. We can decide that we're going to disable the rate check for this because it's immaterial. We just come here and click disable VAT rate check, in which case the transaction is going to go into the VAT return directly. And there's another way we could resolve this, which would be more systematic, which is when we load the data, we're not even going to see this at all. So let's assume you decide that you could deal with a tolerance of 0.05, and that's fine. You don't need to worry about it. So then we can set up under account settings, file upload settings. We can come here and then set up a tolerance of, let's say, 0.06, which basically means VAT reporting while loading the data will skip small amounts less than 0.06, and 0.05 is less than 0.06. So all we'll need to do when we go back to errors and warnings will be to reprocess that same transaction. So this is the one here. You can just click here and then reprocess the document. That's one way we could do it, or we could actually open here, click on it, and then reprocess from here. We wait a couple of seconds and then click apply again, and you can see the transaction has gone without us having to do anything else. So there are quite a few options for that type of error. The next error is there is no reverse VAT while the VAT code requires reverse VAT. So essentially, this relates to a purchase with reverse charge where the reverse VAT is missing. So let's view and resolve. Let's look at the document in detail. So again, reverse VAT, so we're talking about amounts here. And as you can see, we don't have, in terms of figures, we only have taxable basis and VAT amount. This is how the information would have come through on the invoice. So 1,000 taxable basis and no VATs, that's correct. But we don't have a node here on the main page. And reverse VAT will typically sit in the document detail view. So we have to unpack this invoice here, where we have every single node on the invoice for the data which came through. and then we'll identify reverse VAT. So we typically go through invoice properties, and then from invoice properties, we unpack invoice lines, and under invoice lines, we're going to see reverse VAT, which is here. And you can see there are no values there at all. And let's have a look at value deductible VAT. Typically, with 100% deductibility, we will have exactly the same amount here. Let's look at the value VAT and then the taxable basis. So as you can see, the invoice came with 1,000 taxable basis, no VAT. The deductible VAT was done properly, but the reverse VAT was not accounted for. So let's go ahead and account for it. Naturally, you would have checked the invoice, make sure that everything makes sense, and then update accordingly. So once the update is completed, we click on Save and Reprocess. Again, we wait for a couple of seconds and then hit Apply again. All right. Now we have invoice number already in database. So let's have a look at these. Now we have a couple of invoices. The invoice number is exactly the same. So we can have a look at the details here and compare if they are the same. So let's have a look. We are the supplier. It's a local transaction to the Netherlands. In euro, the transaction is in euro. And the values, we have 2,000 taxable basis and then 420 for VAT amount. The VAT code is NL1 and it's for goods. Let's look at the second invoice. Again, we are the supplier. It's a local sale to a Dutch customer. The transaction is in euro. The values are different. We have 4,000 taxable basis and then 840 VAT, and the VAT code is the same. So as you can see here, the two transactions are actually distinct. So there are a couple of ways you can deal with this. First, in terms of sources, this looks like it's potentially a data entry issue where the reference was not keyed in properly, or just a data extraction issue as well. So to resolve this, you can select all because you've identified they're completely different. So you can go and find the two invoices and then update the correct invoice reference for one, or you can just disable the rate check because you're confident that they're not duplicates. So you can come here and use the disable duplicate document number check, which is the same for the supplier invoice number as well when we have supplier invoices. So let's go ahead and do that. And there we go. The transactions have gone in. So wait a couple of seconds. Hit apply. And there we go. We have two errors now to deal with. The next error is the VAT code is empty. So that's pretty straightforward. The VAT code is missing. Again, let's look at where the VAT code is. Typically, it's not in the master data piece. It's not in the document detail piece. It's not in the document total. It sits on the invoice lines. And as you can see here, this is the VAT code node. It's empty. So all we need to do, again, pull up the original invoice, find the type of transaction that is, make sure the rest of the data makes sense, and then update the VAT code accordingly. From what I can see here, we are domestic. We are a local supplier in the Netherlands. And this is a local supply because the customer is also Dutch. Transaction is in euro. We have our values here. So this is a domestic transaction. And we just need to figure out what the VAT amount is, the VAT rate is. And based on 400 taxable basis and 84 VAT amount, we can conclude that the VAT rate is 21%, and therefore we just need to identify what's the correct VAT code. So, and just update it accordingly. In this case, the VAT code is NL10. So just go ahead and I can just go ahead and update that. That's one way of doing it. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use the filter here, the bulk change, so you can see how it can be done in bulk. So let's go ahead and choose find and replace. There is currently nothing in the node, so we're going to leave it grayed out. And the node that we're looking for is line VAT code. So let's go L. And here we're going to add a task by assigning a value here. So we're just going to add NL10 and just click add. We've just assigned one task. So we can add as many tasks as we need for an invoice if there are many things to change. But in this case, this will be sufficient. Let's hit apply. And it has processed it for that invoice. So let's wait a couple of seconds, hit apply again, making sure that all our filters are correct. And there we go. We only have one left. Now, invoice line 1, we typically need to open it really to see the content on there. And it says that for invoice line 1, the intra-community transactions require 2 valid EU member state VAT numbers. What it means is either one or both EU VAT numbers are missing from the transaction. So let's view and resolve. Let's look at the details. So this is a master data issue, of course. So we will be looking at the supplier and customer information. So we are the supplier, our information is there. The customer, when we look at the information, we can see here your customer GmbH is within the EU. The denomination for GmbH is usually in the EU, would sit with either Austria or Germany. And looking at the VAT number here, it looks like it's probably Austrian. So I'm gonna go ahead and update it accordingly. Now, again, you would pull out the invoice, make sure that you have the correct information for the client, and then you come in here and update accordingly. So I'm going for Austria in this case. So I change the country, Austria, and then I'll have Austrian VAT number as well, the VAT number country, and also the country VAT number used for the customer. So that once that's updated, I'll go ahead and save and reprocess. Wait a couple of seconds, make sure all the filters are correct, hit apply again, and you can see all the errors have been resolved.